We've got a pretty big update on a potential class action lawsuit against WWE stemming from the Vince McMahon allegations. What do we know so far? How is this going to impact the company moving forward? All that and much more coming up in this video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right. So the Vince McMahon allegations, the allegations of abuse, assault, and harassment against him have taken the entire wrestling world by storm. This is all that wrestling media is talking about. It's a lot of what the news media is talking about when they mention WWE, and it just got a whole lot messier for the company as a Chicago law firm has announced that they are taking cases. So here's what happened. The Pintas and Mullins law firm in Chicago launched a website called WWEsettlements.com with a contact form for anyone that has, quote, was, quote, sexually assaulted, made to feel uncomfortable, or witnessed abuse by Vince McMahon or anyone from WWE or the UFC, which is an interesting wrinkle. The site says this in its full statement, and I quote, Vince McMahon and WWE/UFC are under investigation for sexual assault and sex trafficking after former employees of WWE/UFC came forward with allegations of profoundly disturbing misconduct. Goes on to say, according to a recent lawsuit, the founder and other leaders forced employees to participate in sexual acts by threatening to terminate their employment and share intimate images of them. This is not the first time Vince McMahon or WWE/UFC have faced accusations of sex abuse. In 1992, Rita Chatterton, the first female referee, came forward with allegations that she was raped by Vince McMahon while traveling with him in his limousine. In 2022, the second bullet says, in 2022, investigators seized documents and discovered non-disclosure agreements and multi-million-dollar payouts covering up the sexual misconduct. Now, of course, that's what the statement on their website says. And when law firms typically do this, it is in order to collect testimonials and get potential clients to add to this case. And many times we've seen this happen across the industry. We've seen this happen in Hollywood. You've seen this happen in a lot of places. A lot of these times when you have enough people who've come forward, this leads to a class action lawsuit. And a similar, very different topic, but a similar thing kind of happened with WWE back in the day when concussions were being talked about a lot, and there was a massive concussion class action lawsuit against the company. That, of course, was settled out of court. I think you can tell by the name, WWEsettlements.com, that seems to be the end goal here, or at least to get some sort of culpability and some form of justice, whether in the form of money or what have you, for the accusers and the defendants and the victims in this case. But I think this all underscores one big thing that WWE needs to realize at this point, that Triple H needs to realize, that everyone in charge in that company, and anyone who's in their PR department needs to realize, and that is that this is not going away. The accusations against Vince McMahon were very apparently part of a bigger problem that has plagued the WWE for decades. And it wasn't just that this one incident happened. This, along with decades of victimization of women, along with decades of stories of women being either too scared to come forward, or women who did come forward not having their stories believed, or not having the full extent of what could have been done achieved there. Ashley Massaro is probably one of the best examples of that, unfortunately, and this is not going away. And I think that Triple H, come time for the press conference in Perth, should realize that and should have something prepared. WWE needs to answer for this. It is, everyone's going to keep talking about it, as they should, because this is not just a case of an isolated incident that was some random person in the company. This is basically the guy who built WWE into being what it is. If Vince McMahon may have not founded WWE, that may have been his great-grandfather, Jesse McMahon, but he built WWE into the juggernaut that it is. He was at the head of the table for that long period of time, and he's the guy at the end of the day that did these things, and he's the guy who had all the power in the company. And there were definitely people who knew. John Laurinaitis, of course, was implicated in the lawsuit, and he said that there were people who knew. We've heard from a friend of Ashley Massaro who was on News Nation the other day, who claimed that WWE officials knew, executives knew. Stephanie McMahon was in a meeting with Ashley Massaro after she was assaulted. This is part of a bigger problem. It's a symptom of a bigger problem. And I'm not going to say that I'm the expert in knowing how to fix these problems, but if you're WWE, you have to take this seriously. And it's not just saying the right things, it's doing the right things. It's having the mechanisms in place to prevent this from happening in the future. Otherwise, you have failed the women you've already failed, and you will continue to fail women for decades and years to come. And that cannot be allowed. Because they have the resources to stop it. They have the money to stop it. They have, you would think, the wherewithal to stop it. It just takes a little bit of will. We'll see if they have that will. I'm not sure if I can honestly sit here and say they do, but I really hope they do for the sake of every single person who ends up under their employ, because the allegations against Vince are disgusting. We know that there's other hush money payments that were made. We don't know what the extent of those NDAs are. We don't know about, other people who were victimized. There's a lot here that's just horrible. And WWE needs to answer for them. And I know that Ari Emanuel didn't buy this, or he bought the company, and he wasn't there when a lot of this was happening, or any of this was happening. But he still has to answer for it, because he's where the buck stops. And if you want to start setting the tone for a new culture, a new company, same with UFC, who, by the way, UFC was implicated in this, and I don't think that's for no reason there. But if you're Ari Emanuel, you have to say that this is not only a new era, but it is a new beginning, and we're taking this seriously. And you have to actually do it. Put the guardrails, the mechanisms in place so that people feel comfortable coming forward, and hold people who did these actions or knew about them accountable. Hold powerful people accountable. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. We'll see if WWE does that. But this is, again, it's not going away. It's not going away. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Also, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.